You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nicole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, October 6th. Today is National World Cerebral Palsy Day. Shout out to me. National Coaches Day. National Orange Wine Day. I don't even know if I would want to drink that. National Plus Size Appreciation Day. National Noodle Day. National German American Day. And National Mad Hatter Day. Thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us, especially on YouTube, as well as all other social media platforms. We're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube and audio only on Clubhouse. And if you are joining us in Clubhouse, you can also participate in the show by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story most recently presented. But without further ado, let's pay a quick bill so we can get right back to the news.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of Angels. And we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's back with us. That's right. The dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte. When he's not taking care of babies, changing diapers, or playing with shells and sharing paste, you can find him at the arts and crafts table at a TEDx convention where they'll be sharing paste with grown-ass adults, passing it around like Catholics at communion. Swapping, huh? That's right. And when he's not doing any of that, you will not. I'll tell you where you won't find him, because he's now injured because of this from all of his backpedaling on Safe Banking and Banking Plus, because he tore his Achilles tendon. That's right. The Achilles heel of cannabis is none other than lobbying against Safe Banking and Safe Banking Plus. That's right. What do you have for us today, dope dad? Rico Lamitte.
All right. Thank you for yet another phenomenal intro, Jason Beck, and welcome back everyone out there watching, listening, and getting high at 9 with us one more time. My headline today is coming from Benzinga by Maureen Meehan. FBI crime report: cannabis busts still favorite pastime of nation's cops, though experts say data is incomplete. The FBI released its 2021 Crime in the Nation report yesterday, and the report's normally seen as the most comprehensive analysis of the rise and fall of U.S. crime, but this year's is the most inconclusive since 1979, with only 63% of more than 18,000 law enforcement agencies submitting 2021 data. And guess which two megacities were part of that shady 37%? New York and Los Angeles. That's right, the two biggest, most populous cities in the Union decided to not send in shit. Researchers blame a voluntary change in how the FBI requires agencies to report crimes in 2021 for the drop in participation. Per the article, Wei-Ha Lee, a data reporter for the Marshall Project, told NPR the FBI's data gap will make it much harder to analyze crime trends and fact-check claims that politicians tend to fling at each other. One thing that was clear in the data that was reported: cannabis is still a top cop target for arrests, with 45% of drug seizure offenses in 2021 involving the confiscation of either cannabis or hashish. The FBI's National Incident-Based Reporting System revealed 885,509 crimes in 2021 involving seizure of a controlled substance, with 400,340 labeled as seizure of cannabis. Unlike past yearly FBI reports, this 2021's opaqueness when it comes down to how many people were arrested for cannabis-related violations is because for the first time in over 50 years, national estimates are not publicly available from the FBI. Either way, annual arrest statistics archived by NORML show police making over 28 million cannabis-related arrests since 1965, peaking at over 800,000 annually in 2008 before steadily declining over the past decade due to state legalization efforts. But after spending millions in federal tax dollars over the past 7 years updating its crime statistics reporting system, Americans are left looking at the agency like the switch from cable TV to streaming platforms. We're paying more and they all got commercials now. What is the fucking point? That's right, the top domestic cop agency paid for by all of your tax dollars wants you to just take their word that they're doing the right thing. The same agency that harassed and most likely murdered both Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. The same agency that was outed for using our tax dollars to spy on Whitney Houston, Steve Jobs, George Steinbrenner, John Denver, Helen Keller, Anna Nicole Smith, Marilyn Monroe, Jackie Robinson, Charlie Chaplin, Rock Hudson, Walt Disney. Well, maybe Walt Disney deserved it. I swear y'all are making it very harder by the day to keep talking shit about crazy ass Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump calling to defund the FBI. But hey, law and order, all that good shit. My name is Rico Lamitte, dope as dad on the street. I'd like to hear what the rest of y'all got to say about this one. Thank you.
I was just waiting how long it was gonna take you to hear Donald Trump come out of your mouth.
It's better than Donald Trump coming into your mouth, right, Jason?
Oh, fuck yeah. I don't know. You'd have to ask Stormy Daniels that one.
This episode,
yeah.
instant classic,
yes,
man.
that's right.
But seriously, what do y'all think about this opaqueness? New York and Los Angeles not submitting any data to the annual report, and 45% of the inconclusive report is showing that they're all weed arrests.
I think New York and Los Angeles are both probably mildly embarrassed, considering how much, well, at least Los Angeles, how much money cannabis is bringing in to its economy, yet how they're still treating people. And I would be willing to bet that the numbers were still fucking terrible, even though we have a fully regulated system and we're constantly talking about, social equity and that sort of thing. But like when we're having that conversation, to say like, oh yeah, by the way, we also incarcerated this many people for weed this year, I think would make them like, it would just be such a like mud on their face moment that they don't even want to fucking admit it, because when they probably pulled the numbers, they were probably like, oh shit, like how are we arresting just the same amount of people? Or like, maybe it's more, like, who knows? You know what I mean? But it leaves the mind to wonder. But I definitely know people are still getting arrested in LA over weed. You know what I mean? Like it's not stopped completely. It's not what it used to be. It's not like I'm afraid to have a fucking sack of weed in my pocket anymore, but they're definitely still, harassing people that are trying to grow for themselves.
And the absence of information leads to these conspiracy theories too.
100%.
Right.
Well, at the same time too.
At least we're in a state where it's still illegal. Where it's still illegal in Texas. People are still being arrested every day. And we haven't even, put the rules in place that y'all have. That's very shameful. That's stealing from the people and stealing from the public. The public should get angry and hold these people accountable. I mean, this is millions and millions of dollars. What the fuck?
I mean, in all fairness,
we're going to take some jobs away, but
in all fairness, LA holds no one accountable because we have a district attorney. Yeah, we have a district attorney that doesn't even prosecute crime, and the people haven't even recalled them yet. So, in all fairness, counting on the people, counting the people that do anything is fucking horse crap.
What was your comment, Gretchen?
I'm sorry, I just had a question. I'm trying to understand what time period of data they had submitted for.
This is new yearly reporting data of crimes, okay? And basically what happened is that the FBI,
I'm asking
they switched
last year
reporting on. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
But they switched the way of how you have to enter all of this information. So a majority of law enforcement from major cities didn't even enter any of the information because it was a brand new system.
All right. Well, to add to your wonderful conspiracy theories, is it possible that say someone like New York didn't put in their information for this because they decriminalized cannabis.
I was going to say,
care.
I agree with that, Gretchen. I think that's a very valid point because there are no arrests being made for cannabis in
That's
New
not
York
true.
anymore.
That's not
No,
true.
they're not making any arrests. No, they're impounding cars for not unpaid parking tickets, not for trapping.
I'm saying, I'm sure they're
not
arresting
true.
guys who have 20 pounds of weed somewhere in New York City. But
They're
I'm
still
asking,
arresting people in New York, Jason.
for a kid smoking a joint on the street, they're not arresting them.
That's different. Totally.
Yeah. So is it just that cops are too lazy to
Properly
fill out this
report.
They don't
information
like
and
change.
this is where it's
They don't
been
like
done?
change. If you tell any kind of government agency that they have to do something different, you think they're actually going to do it, or they're going to fight back against it until they're forced to do it? They're gonna do that. They're collecting.
You don't think
The
it also could be?
preservation of the system is the most important thing. That is their number one goal. Just preserve what we have, preserve what we have.
Status
Maybe things
quo.
will change around us, but we will keep it rolling, okay? No pun intended. And do what we've always fucking done, which is harass and serve,
I actually just
a
went
very
to a
small
website-
percentage of people. They don't serve
York-
the masses.
New York
They don't
offers
protect
this
us.
data very clearly on their website. This is nyc.gov. They have a 2022 arrest records for the first quarter of 2022, and I just pulled the report, and it says that they arrested 42 people in New York. This is a New York
For
City
cannabis?
number for cannabis specifically. This is here. Hold on. Pull this up. I'll do a screen share really quick.
How hard was it for them to submit that data to the FBI when they asked for
Well,
it?
well, Rico, I wonder if part of the reason too is because of the whole defund the police movement and their lack of morale.
That's possible too. They just like fuck you guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
like,
mean-
yeah, fuck you guys.
Wow.
Yeah,
it could be.
Wow.
That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
so-
I think that
several
definitely plays a
factors
role in
going
this.
Okay.
Well, and I'm also wondering how much of this is, they're busting a guy for something else and he happens to have cannabis and it's just an added charge. Is that really what's
Potentially, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So are they
Exactly.
looking at it in the same
So-
way? I don't know.
Well, in,
So
well,
this
in, the,
is-
in the data, in the story, like I said, in what was submitted, of the 63%, 885,509 crimes in 2021 involving the seizure of a controlled substance. 400,340 of those were labeled as seizure of cannabis.
Can I get a screen
That's
share real quick?
with another crime. That's what you're saying.
I just want to
and
show
there's
you
no-
some really
it's
fucked
very-
up data.
Yeah, please share it.
It's like
Let's
I'm
see
robbing a
fucked up.
bank and the guy had pot on him.
Yeah.
That's-
Exactly.
Alright,
We
I'm
went
just
and bipped a few cars, and all of a sudden we found
He
some
had
weed
to.
in one of them.
Weed is so expensive.
They used to sprinkle crack on motherfuckers. Now it's just weed, huh?
You know what I mean? Sprinkle me, man.
Okay.
It must be green crack.
Dude.
It probably is green crack, Rico, for sure.
Is,
All right, what are we looking at,
Well,
Nicole?
oh my
Explain
God,
this.
This is
Walk
so
us through
data
this.
bitchy. I love it.
is anybody okay? So this is
spreadsheet.
2022, bro. Quarter one. Cannabis specifically, possession of cannabis. We have 8 criminal possession of cannabis. So this is escalating in the amount of cannabis 1, 1, and 3. So this is a possession issue. Q1 of this year, a possession issue, which means they did not have enough for them to get them on fucking crimes to say that they were selling it. And let's look at that Black and Hispanic data real quick and tell me that this isn't still a fucking problem. I don't care.
Like I always say,
Data,
Eric
bitch.
Adams.
Just shit all
everybody's
over
like, oh,
you.
yeah, I like.
All right.
I like
I'm just
that.
wondering how
It was
much
beautiful.
of that-
He
Having
opened
to
up
do with
broken
another
windows
crime.
policies. Broken windows policies was opened back up by Eric Adams. Everybody wants to say, "Oh yeah, we like this guy, but
Oh,
broken
10 City.
windows
10
policy
City. 10 City,
is
Eric
what
Adams.
gave Rudy Giuliani all of his power to just destroy black communities straight up.
Well, with that wonderful conversation about
Yes.
how fucked up the alphabet agencies are, I think that's a great way for us to segue our way right into probably one of the highest Republicans that you'll ever meet. The member of whatever political party might piss you off, and currently I think that might be Republican, and also the longest running retailer in the history of cannabis globally. Jason, what do you have for us today?
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Nicole. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Today, that's right, we're going to talk about triggers because there's a whole bunch of triggers getting pulled in this article. Because a Missouri Roman Catholic bishops, oppose legalization of adult use cannabis. If you're tempted to vote next month to legalize adult use cannabis in the great state of Missouri, 4 Roman Catholic dioceses discontent with that. In an article published by the Catholic Missourian on Monday, the bishops acting as officers of the Missouri Catholic Conference raised concerns about the social costs of legalization and said voters should reject the plan. We urge Catholics and all persons of goodwill to oppose Amendment 3, the bishop said, mentioning concerns about public health, marijuana use by minors, and people unable to hold jobs. Amendment 3 on the November 8th ballot would legalize possession of and cultivation of marijuana for individuals 21 and older. And they say, we believe that marijuana legalization will negatively impact Missouri families, health outcomes, communities, and workers, the bishop said in a statement. St. Louis Archbishop Mitchell Rosanowski, Bishop of Kansas City, Missouri, says Joseph James Johnson Jr., Bishop of Jefferson City, with Sean McKnight, and Bishop of Springfield Cape, Gradu Edward Rice, signed on to oppose Amendment 3. The Missouri bishops noted that Pope Francis has opposed drug legalization, and they say, let me state this in the clearest terms possible. The problem of drug use is not solved with drugs, the pontiff said at a drug conference in Rome in 2014. Roman Catholic leaders generally have condemned drug use and supported abstinence. Sometimes alcohol has been the target. For example, Pope Leo VIII in 1887 endorsed the Terpenance movement, encouraging the faithful to abstain from every kind of intoxicating drink. But many Catholic leaders declined to endorse legal prohibition. St. Louis Archbishop John Glennon, while criticizing the proliferation of saloons, opposed the 18th Amendment, which banned the production and sale of alcoholic beverages from 1920 until its repeal in 1933. Glennon, who died in 1946, led the church in St. Louis during the Prohibition era and later World War II. Asked to differentiate between alcohol and marijuana, Jamie Morris, executive director of the Missouri Catholic Conference, said on Wednesday, there were obviously problems with alcoholism and drunk driving, but that we don't know if pointing to alcohol and saying, well, that's legal, so marijuana should be legalized, is maybe the strongest of arguments. The bishops really don't have a specific position on legalization or criminalization of alcohol, Morris said, adding, the question isn't before voters. I think the purpose of the statement was really just to give undecided voters or those who support the question because of increased tax revenues points to consider of greater social cost, Morris said. Whether Missouri's Catholics will heed the bishop's call to oppose Amendment 3 is unclear. On abortion, for example, Catholics hold varying views, even though church leadership opposes the procedure. 68% of regular churchgoers surveyed said they were opposed to abortion in most or all cases, according to a poll released in May by Pew Research. Those who attended Mass less often were less likely to support strict anti-abortion laws, with 34% of those respondents saying most or all abortions should be illegal. According to the Missouri Catholic Conference, there are 754,325 registered Catholics within the 4 Missouri dioceses and approximately 490,000 within the Archdiocese of St. Louis. A spokeswoman said no way to know how many active Catholics there are, but the figures reflected people who have registered with their parish. Proponents of Amendment 3 have said the proposed system is preferable to current law, in which marijuana use can carry criminal penalties. John Payne, campaign manager for Legal Missouri 2022, has said Amendment 3 will free up law enforcement to focus on serious crime instead of making tens of thousands of arrests and citations annually for marijuana possession. Amendment 3 creates a thorough system of regulation which will protect public health and safety for better than our current illicit and unregulated system, he said. A number of organizations have endorsed the plan, including the ACLU of Missouri, the Missouri Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, as well as the St. Louis area chapters of the NAACP. Other groups have either raised questions or have came out in opposition to the plan. The Missouri Democratic Party and Missouri Liberation Party are both staying neutral, citing issues with the wording of the proposal. Republican Governor Mike Parson has also called the plan a disaster, and he and the Missouri Association of prosecuting attorney said last week it opposes the ballot measure. The prosecutors later walked back a claim their association made that people who sell marijuana to middle schoolers would only be cited with a civil penalty under Amendment 3, the Kansas City Star reported earlier this week. It is a simple majority of Missouri voters approve Amendment 3. Missouri will become the 20th state to legalize cannabis for adult use if it is to pass in November. Well, I'll tell you what, I've seen a number of different comments in regards to this story. One of the ones I saw the most was actually from someone in Missouri who actually stated that they are actually opposed to this, even though they do support the legalization of cannabis because it is a MSO-led bill. And this is Jason Beck reporting for High at 9 News.
I got a real question,
That
man.
article was as long as church.
Right,
I'm
I got a
sorry.
real,
Boring.
Oh, yeah.
I got a real
Fuck
question.
that.
Why are we still listening to Catholic bishops for advice on morality? We're looking to them for thought leadership on anything community centric. I was raised Catholic, and at 17 years old, I made the choice not to be confirmed after my priest told me the altar boys being molested and women not being able to hold leadership positions in church was all part of God's plan. He didn't have a real fucking response for that, and I just don't see this is not just focusing on Catholicism itself. This is like most man-made religion is like, I don't know. These are people's beliefs, but you have nothing like rooted in actual history and science as tied to that. Like, I'm not going to admonish anybody's like personal beliefs, but like having them as thought leaders in stuff that affects real world people who don't adhere themselves to those same beliefs. I don't think that should be a thing. Period.
I think that's absolutely
go ahead, Gretchen.
ridiculous statement to say, Rico. There are over
What's ridiculous about it?
a billion Catholics in this world. Do you know how many people who aren't Catholic? I mean, religion is a major factor in a lot of people's lives. And so that's who they're going to look to when
there's more Muslims. There's more Muslims around the globe.
Well, that's wonderful.
But are we looking to Sharia law for everything?
My point is to just say that we shouldn't listen to these people because religion is bullshit or whatever, or they have the wrong tenets, is not going to get it done. I think what you need to be looking at are folks at like the Mormon Church, who are the ones who controlled the cannabis laws in Utah because they got involved in
and Nevada.
That's exactly what I think the Catholic Church is going to try and do, is manipulate how the laws are happening.
Ugh.
I think this is just...
Well, isn't that what the Catholic Church is good at, is manipulation?
Right,
separation of church and state.
One,
Why don't we
Jason.
have separation of church and state? It should be that way, and it absolutely is not in modern day.
It never has been, though. It never has been.
No,
And
because
And
it's
it totally
culture.
should be, but we've built like this country for years and years and years on unfortunately,
Does that mean
listening to
it
the
shouldn't
ideas
change?
of people who look like these sick fucks.
Right.
Hey, did you see
And-
their pictures? Did you
Bro,
see
it's
the
the most
four of
fucked up
them?
thing ever. I'm
Two of
surprised
them,
it
two
took
of
this
them
long.
definitely look like child molesters. One
They
of
look
them looks
terrible.
like he's
But-
okay with child molestation because like he's grown
'Cause
out
they're
of
his
it.
friends.
And the fourth one looks like he likes to assist in all of it. I was just
No,
like, oh my god.
The idea
I'm not gonna
that
take it there.
the idea that it's any different than it originally was now, I think is almost, it's like the level of ignorance and the thickness of the wool that is getting pulled over our eyes
Right.
for those who think that like we have a separation. Like there is a very like strong pull of religion that happens regardless to whether or not we want to accept it,
But
no
their
matter how
numbers
like
are
religiously
dwindling.
free we are. Like no, it's like the
I
Christian.
mean, look at the
Their
data.
numbers
Look
may
at the
be
data. Their numbers are dwindling,
but
They
their
totally
numbers
are.
may
Should
be
be as well.
financially dwindling. I have to say
The
this.
money.
I was raised Catholic as you were, Rico. I went to Notre Dame undergrad, and I went to St. Ed's for grad school. So I've got some Catholic brainwashery.
Was it an all girls Catholic school?
No, but you could imagine that it was. Moving on, though, it's about the finances. It's about where the money is. It's about where the land is. It's about the power there, and I think it's gross. And I think you're all right, and it's just a huge mind fuck. And I wish people would just look at, just look within themselves and think
Tear
about,
it down, burn it
how
down.
can I serve myself and the community? How can we get stronger without needing these bullshit conduits to Jesus Christ?
I think religion is a choice. I'm never going to stomp anybody out or
No.
admonish anybody for their
No.
choice, their faith,
No.
or anything like that. But this should not have any effect on our laws, and we should rightfully push back on any of that bullshit being inching its way into our federal system. Period. They don't pay taxes. Get the fuck out of my politics.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is not the federal system. This is Missouri. So
Yes.
That's
Missouri
true.
pay taxes?
That's true. That was a lot of energy for Missouri.
Missourians.
Yes, Rico, we should move to the next.
Let's keep it rocking. Keep it rocking. This agriculture and efficiency expert did time in Colorado Cell, learning the hard lessons our industry teaches, and she emerged like a phoenix, a superhero. Known to fellow inmates as Jail Google, dedicating her life to paying that knowledge forward so you never end up in the same place she did. Coming up next is the self-described general data bitch herself, Nicole West. What you got for us on this beautiful Thursday morning?
Good morning, everybody. I am reporting from a still picture of Hall of Flowers, but I am the Hall of Flowers doesn't open until 10. So I'm out here in Santa Rosa, and my headline today is actually pretty relevant to this area, California as a whole. But my story today is about the Appalachia, and it's coming out of Cannabis Wire, and it's what's going on with California's Cannabis Appellations Program. Well, words like terroir and elevation have long been associated with wine, but they'll soon become an essential part of the cannabis industry. Now, I do want to start by saying there was recently a film that was released. I know Rico was a part of the release party. It was the Frenchy Cannoli documentary. And one thing that he really states in the beginning that I think is really important for us to understand is the importance of a clear understanding of what these words mean, because this evolution is going to happen really quickly, and California is really leading the way. So as we develop this, it's really important for us to understand definitions of all of these words that we're using. So California is leading its way and the first in the jurisdiction in the world to propose an Appalachia program for cannabis, as they exist for wine like champagne or other things like Bordeaux. An appellation of origin, as defined by the California Department of Food and Agriculture, or the CDFA, California Appellation Program, is a protected designation that identifies geographical origin of a product and usually includes production requirements. So also currently in the state of California, in the Appalachia program, you're not allowed to list something on your packaging under the 64 regulation that says that it's from a specific place unless it originated from that place. There was a product on the market at one point called, I want to say it was the Humboldt pen, and they had to rename their product because it was actually being manufactured in Adelanto. So they couldn't call it the Humboldt pen anymore because of the Appalachia requirements. So 5 years after the laws have passed, since the program was introduced, no such appellations have actually been established. So while the rules are there, there's not really designation of territory. So when we look at things like wine, where we have the Champagne region and the Bordeaux region, these have been clearly defined as to what that region is. So the reasons behind this slow pace were made clear during the stakeholders workshop hosted by the CDFA in June to provide an overview of the program's long, winding road and where the road is headed. Francis Bean, a senior environmental scientist with the CDFA, Office of Environmental Farming and Innovation, which oversees the Cannabis Appellation Program, led a meeting. Also presented from the office was Carrie Fury and Eric Duran. Bean began with an overview of the program's history. Well, in 2016, voters approved Proposition 64 in the ballot box, which a friend of mine, Sean Kiernan, likes to call the Black Market Stimulation Act, or the Illicit Market Stimulation Act of 2016, which legalized cannabis for adults. The state's adult law was to task the CDFA with crafting regulations for the establishment of the cannabis appellation of origin. Over time, as regulation began to be drafted, there was some debate over which places or spaces were counted as appellations. For example, as Cannabis Wire reported, indoor growers in Southern California pushed the CDFA for their own recognition. Then came SB 67, which Governor Gavin Newsom signed into law in September of 2020. And this law makes it clear the definition of appellation excludes the practices of using artificial lighting and structures in flowering areas. In other words, the cannabis must be grown outdoors in full sun and the ground, which that sounds scary as fuck. Are you really going to say that it has to be in the ground? Whew. Good luck, cannabis. Well, what all this meant between February 2020, when the first draft regulation was released, and that this January, that when the regulations took effect, that were revised multiple times. And in the middle of that came AB 141 that was signed into law in 2021, which consolidated most of all cannabis regulatory oversight and spread it across the several entities. When we first started this program, there was 4 different government agencies that all oversaw a different portion of the industry. And that's since been consolidated into one main agency. And so that also has put a big strain on the process. So being turned to what is required in a petition for appellation. This includes, for example, descriptions of the areas and its boundaries, the geographical features to the cannabis grown there, and the historical and economic significance of cannabis in that area. And importantly, the evidence of name use. And that's the real interesting one being said, referencing the name use. And it's important. It looks like a very simple one, but in the essence, what is an appellation of origin? Such name cannot be made up, he said, and that must represent specifically the geographic area. One example that people have been bringing up is the Emerald Triangle. Well, that's not exactly a place, guys. That's a word or a term that we've started to describe an area, but that's not a location or a place on the map that we can identify. For example, there were questions during the season around ownership of names and enforcement of name use. Bean was clear that nobody could ever own an appellation name, and that belonged to the area laid out in a petition. So, for instance, like you couldn't own Mendocino. Like it's not an area, that's an area that they're trying to signify as an Appalachia. So you could not like trademark that and say, oh, only I am Mendocino cannabis. Among other details, they're all being sorted out. For example, are whether or not there will be public database pending petition so that petitioners would know whether there were similar Appalachias forming, because that's something that's crazy, right? Like if you're petitioning for it and we're all in the same area, but maybe we don't know each other, why couldn't we just join up together and see that petition and help us join an Appalachia region together? And realistically, every area that thinks that they should have an Appalachia should be having some sort of, meeting in that area so that they could develop what that Appalachia looks like. Because when you look at Appalachia regulations for alcohol, there is a advisory board in Champagne, France, specifically for Champagne, for the regional definitions and all the things that are described for that specific regional wine. So I'm super interested to see how this pans out in California. I'm really proud of California for putting Appalachia origin as a part of the regulations. And I'm very hopeful that we get this figured out because I really do think that California is the France when it comes to cannabis. And I'm Nicole West, getting high at 9 with y'all. Super interested to hear what everyone has to say.
I had a great conversation with Frenchie before he passed, with him and Warren Bobrow. Big shout out to Warren doing the damn thing too. And about the origins of the best cannabis. And Frenchie said the best, and he's been all over the world, and he said the best was in California. That's why he planted his roots in California and did what he did with hash and became the legend that he did, because it was in California. And just like you said, Nicole, like saying it, from the Emerald Triangle, like if you say something broad like that, is it going to be okay? It's from the Emerald Triangle. It's from a specific region. Are you going to be able to trademark that? Are you going to be able to trace all of that shit with the bastardization of different strains and everything?
San Fernando Valley was so pissed off when they fucking got told by the governor that they couldn't get SFV as a region because everyone grows SFV indoors. Nobody grows fucking SFV OG. Nobody grows anything in the San Fernando Valley outside.
I feel that's a discriminatory practice. Discriminating against the indoor cultivator.
Bro,
discriminatory.
We need.
It is. It just straight up is. Yeah, Jason. It is. It is.
I think that appellations are going to be huge for the craft cannabis industry, and it's the only way that the marketing is going to happen when interstate commerce does come about. You absolutely have to have these for folks to understand where their cannabis is coming from, and I do think that there will be other places in the country that are going to look to have some type of appellation. I totally believe Frenchie in California is the best. I've heard of some wonderful cannabis coming out of Maine. You'd be surprised at what some of those people up in Maine can pull off. But I think for local cannabis, this is going to be essential. Appellations definitely need to happen.
Mm-hmm. So key.
Jason, where's the best indoor weed grown?
The best indoor weed in the world is grown right here in Los Angeles. Los Angeles County, Ventura County, all of those, Orange County, San Diego County, all of those areas, the best indoor weed. Some of it may be a little bit in the Bay Area too. So I don't want to take away from my friends up there. But they came from online orders.
Why Or this
Because
kind of
Al Gore.
conversation is so
commercial.
important. It's
But
so
hold on,
important to
hold
have.
on, because I did go to this movie also with Rico, and I
Yes.
totally agree with Nicole and all of my other liberal friends that watch this movie that definitions are important and we need them because
So are
definitions
so
are important.
pronouns. So are pronouns.
No,
It's-
pronouns are not
Definitions
definitions.
are so important.
No, so important.
Yes.
We
And
need them,
everyone's
and it's
using
so
words
exciting.
wrong. We're
It's
using
exciting.
science terms wrong on like a regular basis.
You mean like solventless?
Yes.
Like the word solventless, like cryogenic, like strains, like those are all wrong. You guys are using all of those words wrong. You're
And
using-
Sativa
and that's the
indica.
point, is that there's so much more education that needs to happen, that laws are being written, and structures are being put in place, and appellations are being claimed right now, and it's still so early and young. I feel like, of course, we're pushing. Business always pushes the law, but I just feel like you got to take time. It feels really rushed.
It's called the golden rule, Liz. It's called the golden rule. The one with the gold makes the rules.
It's
That's
gonna
how
be
it
like
works.
more and more lawsuits in the future. They're gonna be stemming from
Yeah.
this bullshit too, because there's
Like,
no
hey, man,
science
just smoke
rooted
some
in
weed.
these
Well, in all
laws.
fairness, Rico, you should always take your stems out of your weed.
What about the
Yeah.
seeds, Jason? What about the seeds?
Yeah, no one should smoke seeded weed.
Fuck seeds.
Those come from
I'm
male
excited.
plants, and they're
All I
bad.
know is that what you guys
I'm just
decide
gonna
is
say
what the
let's
rest of
talk.
the
I'm
world
gonna
is going
say
to
it.
decide.
Nobody's hearing it. Thank you.
Welcome to Los Ashes, the headiest city in America. Los Ashes is a 10-pound smokable city curated and created by the world-renowned roller Weavers. In the past, Weavers has amazed cannabis lovers with his roll jobs, such as a smokable 5-pound rocket launcher and a 10-pound Darth Vader. But now Weavers is rolling an entire city. Have your business featured in Los Ashes with a ton of different sponsorship opportunities available. Contact Weavers at smokablecity.com for full sponsorship information.
The thoughts and opinions and general shade thrown on the High at 9 News for those of the individual speakers and not those of any other speaker or its followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or canon advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status of any substance in any country, area, territory, or its authorities. Views expressed in this room do not establish fiduciary relationships. Our sponsors do not imply, constitute any endorsement by us, the expression of any opinion whatsoever, any speaker, or anyone on stage. If you're an easily offended person, this show's probably not for you. Also, fuck off.
Flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world? Then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX. Located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention you'd like to get high at 9 for 10% off your full order.
He's well known in certain DC circles for cooking up excellence and baking delicious treats. But don't let the apron fool you. Our next correspondent is still a feisty, red-headed conservative with proven long-form Mayflower roots and an unhealthy love for safe banking. Coming to stage next is the Chambersburg Peach herself and the founder of Panoptic Strategies, our very own Washington insider, Gretchen Gailey. What you got for us today?
Good afternoon, Rico. My headline is coming from Marijuana Moment. And since not much is going on in Washington, I'm looking to the wonderful state of California. California funds research on blocking marijuana monopolies and protecting legacy cannabis strains. California officials announced yesterday that the state will be awarding up to $20 million in marijuana tax-funded grants to universities that carry out research into cannabis science and policy, including studies on preventing monopolies in the legal industry and securing the genetics of legacy strains. This is the second round of academic marijuana grants from the Department of Cannabis Control, which said it is soliciting research proposals from public colleges with a focus on 5 priority study areas. The department said that it developed the top research priorities in consultation with other state agencies, seeking to learn more about the implementation of cannabis legalization from economic vitality to public health to preservation and to the state's cannabis heritage. Regulators previously issued $30 million in marijuana research grants to public universities across the state in 2020. For this new round, DCC said it is looking for solicitations for projects that deal with cannabis potency and cannabinoid analysis, the health of the state's marijuana industry, monopolies and unfair competition, legacy cannabis genetics, and data on medical marijuana use. California continues to direct millions of dollars to accelerate scientific understanding of cannabis and evaluate the impacts of legalization, according to DCC Director Nicole Elliott. Decades of federal cannabis prohibition has hindered our collective knowledge related to these issues, to the detriment of consumers, communities, our environment, and more. Our hope is that research resulting from these grants proves beneficial not only to California policymakers, but also to those across the nation and world. One of the more notable research objectives concerns anti-competitiveness in the industry, a topic of growing interest as states markets across the U.S. have increasingly consolidated, raising concerns about the future of small cannabis businesses. DCC said it's seeking research and recommendations related to possible policies that would support reasonable competition, reduce anti-competitive behavior, uphold the ability of small businesses to compete in the legal market, or prevent the creation of monopolies within the California market. California also seems to be leaning into its unique marijuana culture and economy by soliciting study proposals to identify and preserve the history, value, and diversity of California legacy cannabis cultivars and the rich experience of its legacy cultivation community. DCC said that the genetic sequencing and chemical profiling of these legacy strains could be part of that research. Although grant funding is not limited to the identified topics, their prioritization provides additional direction to prospective grantees eager to help state cannabis leaders close gaps in research. The resulting research and data would continue to inform and support the creation of a safe, sustainable, and equitable cannabis market that protects people, safeguards the environment, and provides adult access to safe, tested drugs. Study proposals will be accepted from November 1st to the 30th, and grant awardees will be announced in February of 2023. I think this is a great move by California promoting more research. My only concern, especially when it comes to the cultivars, is could this be an issue down the road when it comes to patents and really understanding who owns these things, and is this going to be a grab by the state to take control? This is a little conspiracy theory coming from DC. Gretchen for High at 9 News.
Well, Gretchen, California is run by Democrats and they love to control and regulate. So I definitely think it definitely could go that way.
There's really,
Follow
only a very few amount of strains that actually exist in the world, like when it comes down to it, when you actually genetically sequence them. So it's a lot less options that everyone thinks. It's crazy.
That part is
all
so
of these
true,
dollars
too.
are trackable because we've seen what happened in the past when lots of research funds go to universities. Nothing comes of it.
Well, I think
Oh,
it would
yeah.
be interesting to see if they can come up with policies having to deal with the monopolization of the industry. Clearly, that's going to be an issue that's going to face California, I think, especially when it comes to the craft cannabis market and when interstate commerce happens.
You know, they'll find a way to make it so that they could better monopolize the industry, not actually
course.
protect it. It'll have some fun
They don't
name
like
though.
they don't like monopolies. They like oligopolies. You guys. Come
It'll
on.
have some fun name like,
Come on.
you know, better or some shit, and it'll be like
Better
because
OG.
everyone thought
trim
Trim-
time. Oh yeah,
Keep it
but
rocking.
we got to keep this going. Coming up next to the stage, he's a blunt blowing Fresno-based man of the people, representing the Black conservative voice whose existence Joe Biden would love to silence for even acknowledging it exists. Here to change the narrative, it is none other than the governor himself, Nicholas Wildstar. Where are you, Nicholas? I see you on Clubhouse. You got to unmute, buddy. There we go.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Good morning, everyone. The Birmingham City Council introduced an ordinance Tuesday to allow medical marijuana dispensaries to operate within the city limits. I think we know the state of Alabama, unfortunately, is last in a lot of things, including health, said Mayor Randall Woodfin, who recommended the ordinance. All types of diseases exist not only in this state, but particularly in this community in our city. I think having the opportunity as a state to offer alternative medicine puts us in a position to ease pain and possibly save lives as well. Woodfin said the ordinance would be the first step in a long process, but there was already high interest among residents in the city and in the rest of Jefferson County, no pun intended. The state is accepting applications through December 30th and plans to begin issuing licenses by July 10th, 2023. Assistant City Attorney Julie Bernard said the city would be allowed up to 9 dispensary licenses if the ordinance is fully approved. Any dispensary will be required to follow local zoning laws and business regulations, including a requirement to be located at least 1,000 feet from a school or child care center. Councilmember Carol Clark asked the mayor how this council could influence the burgeoning medical cannabis industry to be inclusive. Black people have been sort of self-medicating with treating their PTSD or whatever with marijuana, and a lot of our folks have been disproportionately incarcerated and punished around it, Clark said. Do you think there are ways for us to influence the inclusivity of all of our communities as the industry develops legally? Woodfin responded by saying the city would have to follow any applicable laws, but beyond that, it would need to be intentional and creative in handling that issue. Related to this topic, marijuana, those in certain communities, particularly the Black community, have been impacted very negatively from unjust laws related to this, he said. What I want the city of Birmingham to do is to be very intentional and creative about making sure those who have been affected in a negative way can participate and be at the front of the line as it relates. Councilman Hunter Williams said had some reservations about the ordinance. He gave a recent example involving the residents of the Huffman neighborhood not wanting a CBD store to locate there. The neighborhood fought very hard to make the CBD store not open, Williams said. I want to make sure that we respect the neighborhoods that may not want this in their neighborhood. If Huffman doesn't want it there, I think there is a minimum of 98 other neighborhoods that may be open to this. Woodfin responded, this is not a CBD store. If you don't have an actual prescription or medical card, you can't purchase anything out of this. So this is not the same. It's not even an Alogus. It's not even in the same ballpark. The mayor encouraged the council to put their healthcare hats or put on their healthcare hats when considering the issue. It's going to be extremely important on our end for our residents to be armed with factual information, not hearsay and perception of what they think this is, Woodfin. About it being a healthcare issue similar to any other pharmaceutical. I think the appropriate context for this be summed up in the phrase bottle, not baggy, O'Quinn said. This is about healthcare and access to medicine. The ordinance passed on first reading with Williams declining to vote. Reporting for the High at 9 News Hour, this is Nick Wildstar, a.k.a. the Governor. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Oh, thank you, Nick. Yeah, Alabama, I'll tell you what, if I was out there, I would create a brand out there for cannabis, or probably maybe it would just be a strain. It would be one of those woke criminal justice reform brands, and it would give back, and it would be called Alabama Slamma.
So I've worked in a few states now that I never expected to have cannabis. And I've worked with a couple people in Alabama that were making efforts. And I definitely want to say that is for sure one of the most bought and paid for markets I've ever seen. And I've seen some weird shit in the South, bro. I've seen some weird fucking shit. And I was like, oh, it's like that. Like, I'll never go back to Las Vegas and try to work in the industry again, I think. But like, Alabama is one of those places I don't think I'll go to.
Alabama is not the first place
I want a story time.
I would consider as inclusive.
Nah, bro, it is bought and paid for. Is all I gotta say.
You know what I really wonder who his thoughts on this is the former Attorney General and former Senator from Alabama. That's right, exactly. We're not going to say his name. No, not Tom Cotton.
He
no.
Contact Mayor Woodfin for additional comments. He did not respond to my text or email. So
you texted Jeff Sessions, Nicholas, to ask him his comment on this.
Jefferson Beauregard Sessions.
I don't even know where that guy is.
Good old Jeff Sessions, in his confirmation hearing to be Attorney General, said you just make a law. So he is total supporter of legalization as long as there are laws in place.
He's also a supporter of the
He has said
KKK.
that. Oh boy, there we go.
Oh, is he not?
Yeah. There we always.
Would you say,
we're
Rico?
talking about one thing.
He's
We're talking
also
about one
a
thing. You're
supporter of the
totally
KKK.
big spin.
Like, is he not?
He did have associations with the KKK. I don't know if they're current, but I would hope not.
I've had a couple conspiracy theorists in
Fair
weed
fodder.
world say that my criminal case ending up on Jeff Sessions, like what happened to us ending up on Sessions' desks, was the reason why the one amendment was overturned. The what is it? The Rohrabacher Blumhauer one?
No. The what was repealed was nothing but it didn't even wasn't even a law, and it didn't do anything.
Yeah,
It was the
there's
Cole
people
memo.
that
It was the
blame
Cole memo.
the
The
Cole
Cole
memo.
memo
Yeah,
never
the Cole
did
memo.
anything. Cole
Yeah.
memo never did shit, and
Yeah.
cannabis people should not be freaked out that it was repealed because it never did anything at all.
I had people blame my court case and Jeff Sessions on that. I was like, that's
I think there should
interesting.
be a cannabis event series with Jeff Sessions called Sessions with Sessions.
Yes.
And you just
Hosted
get
by
high
I mean,
and
he
Rico
has
talk
the
to him.
perfect. He
Oh
does
my
have
God.
the perfect name for
Mediated
weed.
by Rico
Like,
Lamite and Liz Grow.
Did you see the new Borat where he just interviewed all those fucking political people, like for real? It would be like that from the
Yes.
Sessions, and we'd just be all high asking him questions.
Yes.
Sessions, questions with Sessions.
Fucking Keebler elf.
Yeah,
I'd call it
man.
seshing with Sessions.
Ooh, I like that.
That's the
Yes.
after show.
Yes.
That's the after show.
Unrated.
Do you have any other comments on that? We need to hop.
No, we need to hop. We need to go.
Let's go. This feminized Lone Star State advocate and storyteller is the co-founder of Grow House Media, pumping out some of the most entertaining industry-specific content I've ever seen coming from a non-legal state, period. Word up. Check them out. She can also be found weekly on her podcast by the same name, Feminized, where she interviews some of the dopest women in the game. Coming to the stage next, it's Liz Grow.
Hey, thank you so much for that intro, Rico. Ooh, that feels good, my fellow dope parent. So, yes, I'm reporting from deep in the heart of Texas to bring you a story about the risky business of Delta 9 in New York, all right? So, saddle up because it matters to this Texan right here. And this story is from nyup.com. So, complying with state marijuana regulations is one of the top overhead costs weed businesses must incur. But for entrepreneurs with high risk for tolerance, there's technically a legal way to sell products with more THC than allowed at dispensaries in most legal states. What? I know about this. People in and around the cannabis industry have likely noticed a proliferation of Delta 9 edibles and oils alongside ones containing CBD on shelves at smoke shops and hemp-focused stores. Companies make these products by distilling THC through hemp processing, which is legal under the 2018 Farm Bill, okay? So companies that sell hemp-derived Delta 9 THC enjoy some pretty stark benefits. They don't pay high regulatory costs that companies operating on legal state marijuana markets do, and they're allowed to sell across state lines. However, these entrepreneurs are also operating on shaky legal ground, which is subject to change at any moment. And Texas farmers know this better than anyone. Looking at the issue through a short-term financial lens, it can make a lot of sense for a company to forgo cannabis licensing and instead sell hemp-derived Delta 9, said Lauren Rudick, a co-founder at the firm Hiller PCs and Cannabis Law Practice. Sorry, I'm fucking that up because I know Lauren personally. She's such an awesome person. I think a lot of people do in this industry. She says it's infinitely less expensive to have hemp operation when you can wield the same cannabinoids or the same terpenes that would otherwise be cannabis derived at a much cheaper cost. You also save with some IRS Section 280E, which precludes weed companies from writing off many regular business expenses on their taxes. So that does not apply if you're a hemp company. But there are also, some significant liabilities. Now that hemp-derived THC is on the radar of state and federal regulators, it's going to be up their asses, and they're going to want to do a little more harassing, expand their harassation to, or harassation, maybe I should say, to hemp farmers. And also, the FDA hasn't approved any hemp-derived THC for food or dietary supplements, so it does and could put the consumer at risk, certainly. And then, you're selling questionably legal products across state lines when some states are changing their laws regarding the hemp-derived cannabinoids. You could get scooped up in some early legislation that you don't want to be a part of. So This matters to me because I'm in Texas, and that's Delta 9 from hemp is the only damn legal THC we can get. Delta 9 THC. It's so complicated, and there are so many products out there on the market. Some are safe, some are unsafe, some are amazing, some really, really suck. So I'm Liz Groh from deep in the heart of Texas, reporting from High at 9 News, because I'm high. I want to know what you guys think about this story.
Delta 8 and Delta 9.
Delta 9, do you give a fuck?
I love
mean,
Delta
it kind
9.
of matters.
Delta 9 is the only THC I care about.
Right. Delta 8's, ugh.
Delta 8
Sorry.
is for this shouldn't even be consumed, shouldn't even be on shelves.
Wait, if
It-
you had
it
to
gives
like
me the
sum up
munchies.
what the risk was, what is it exactly the risk?
just the
I
risk,
like
you
was
know,
hearing
putting
the
your-
article and I'm just like, I feel like
I
the
know,
headline
because
was-
the article is that the risk is that the farmer, the small business, puts everything into it, and the rug can be pulled out from under them because legislation really hasn't been set in stone. Here in Texas, a lot of
we're
farmers,
still federally illegal as a business.
I know.
Welcome
that-
to the club, kids. Welcome to the club.
Yeah,
This
that's
shit can be
right.
taken from you
Welcome.
at any point.
That's
Shut
right.
the fuck up. Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's just as
I
risky
mean,
as all of it.
you're
so,
right.
Like, that as
Yeah,
an
yeah,
idea,
yeah.
that as a theory to me, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's the same shit. It's the same shit. It's the same shit. Like
Ugh.
until we deschedule this plant, we are all running a fucking risk for them to say, but you federally broke the law. And at
Yeah.
any point, the state can say,
Right.
take a fucking deal or I'm going to press you federally. Know
Exactly.
that. Know
Yeah.
that, people.
100%
Everyone hear
real.
me.
Yeah, but what does
Yes.
it mean though? What does it mean for companies who are just edibles companies doing
It
of
doesn't
course,
matter.
Delta
It doesn't
9
matter
It
who
doesn't
you
matter
are.
who
It
you are.
doesn't
It
matter.
doesn't
No,
matter.
no,
Doesn't
no, no,
matter
no. Of
who
course
or
I
what
know.
you
Of
are.
course I know that. Of course I know that. But I'm talking about like from a financial perspective. Of course, the short-term financial lens. There are a lot of brands going to market right now. I guess taking share. Market share. Would that be smart to do?
You know what they need
as
to
an
do,
edibles
Liz?
company?
Any of this
have
smart,
hemp
though?
derived
That's-
Delta 9.
That's literally what I'm saying, though, Liz. Is any of this like we're all taking a risk
No,
based
does it-
off of?
Yeah, it's
Li-
a risk
Liz,
for sure.
Liz,
but I'm
Liz.
saying that aside. I'm saying financially.
This is
would
what
that be
they
a
need to
smart
do.
move?
They need to take
any
a
of-
page from
'Cause it's
E40. They need to take a page from E40's verse.
Hurricane.
I keep my lawyers and my bail bondsmen paid. Shit. For all I know, they might decide to raid shit. Okay? It's pretty simple. Just follow that basic rule and you'll be
Gotta learn.
okay.
Ooh.
Thank you guys.
Shout out
Thank
to
you guys.
Vallejo.
Oh, got
Yes,
the
the
real
707. Say it backwards.
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Listen to the wisdom. Thank you guys. For real.
I'm just
for
saying,
real.
Liz.
No, yeah.
it's
100%.
smarter in the way. It's smart in the way of like there's a quicker, fast turn right now. Just the
Yeah.
same as fucking mushrooms and like there's a bunch of things that are like opportunities that people could be investing in. But without federal legalization, you're still always running the risk
Got
where
it.
if you rub the wrong fucking senator in your state
Yep.
or the wrong fucking mayor or the wrong council the wrong way, you might end up getting pressed for something that you were not ready for because you thought it was all good.
I have a
it's
serious
still-
question.
You
I have
gotta
a
make the
serious
choice
question.
yourself.
It's so
Is the risk
real,
worth the
though.
reward? Is
God
the
I have a-
risk
I have a-
damn.
worth the reward?
Rico, I have
Yeah.
a serious question.
Is the risk
Are
worth
they
the reward?
called
Nicole and Jason.
opportunities because of opportunists?
Yeah.
You don't know until you actually see what happens when I never thought I was going to go to fucking jail and become a felon over being the vice president of a corporation. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know. It depends on what life feels like to you.
Yeah.
How hard is it to get a
Yeah.
home for me? It's really fucking hard.
Is it
But was it worth it? I
anyways.
don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Time
You
will
bad,
tell.
girl. You bad.
Time will tell. We got to go to Dr.
Thank
Mary
you.
though.
Yes. Let's just do it.
Dr. Mary Clifton, thank you so much for joining us. I know you were busy this morning, probably taking calls and helping people around the country. Dr. Mary is an integrative medicine internist, 2-time best-selling author, and the CEO of Balance Medicinals. Dr. Mary joins us from New York. She does the research and converts it into effective treatments, so you don't have to. Dr. Mary, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, go ahead. Talk, Dr. Mary. You got to unmute.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
The host
There we
is
go.
muted.
Now we hear you. We hear you now.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, thanks, everybody. My article comes from the Seattle Times on researchers, again, warning of the mental health risks of high-potency cannabis. What we're talking about in this article is these highly concentrated forms of cannabis in dabs, which are produced by extracting the psychoactive THC from cannabis plants, then vaporizing it and inhaling it by a device that is similar in appearance to a bong and usually involves a blowtorch. The products are upwards of 65% or higher THC, and some of these dabs can range in the 90% range, which is concerning to physicians and researchers, particularly out in the Pacific Northwest, who are studying these wider availability of dabs and highly concentrated substances and their potential public health threat to young adults and teenagers especially. It's leading lawmakers to consider new regulations like a THC cap or a higher tax on these potency products, but the products are already illegal for those under 21, and putting a cap or a restriction on them makes it likely that the products will simply be delivered in a secondary market. And the THC caps in other states have led to those outcomes. Since 2014, when cannabis was made legal for use in Washington state, dabs made up about 9% of the market, but now these high potency concentrates have gone up to 35% of the market. And the people that are worried about this are saying nobody expected that this was going to happen. But in fact, everybody thinks that in a mature market, this is exactly what's going to happen, especially as people get used to using cannabis to manage chronic medical conditions. They end up needing higher and higher concentrations of THC because of their tolerance increasing. So in a mature market, you're going to see an increased use of concentrates over flower. There's emerging evidence, albeit with a lot of prohibitionist spin to the words, talking about how high potency THC leads to an increased risk of experiencing psychosis, which is a loss of contact with reality, delusions, hallucinations. So far, only Vermont and Connecticut have included caps on high THC concentrations, capping at 60% THC. And states like Iowa also have THC waivers that people have to apply for after they've spent a period of time in the registered medical program. But if Washington state moves to regulate concentrates, this state would be the first state to crack down on the cannabis industry after legalization. The lawmakers have prepared a report, and it's expected to be released publicly at the end of December. And I'm Dr. Mary Clifton, reporting for High at 9 News.
Dr. Mary, do you agree with this? Is my question. Do you actually think that dabs are a concern to use? I felt like that was the perfect time for me to take a dab because I felt like compelled for it. But I definitely do understand that high doses for people that already have mental predispositions is a concern for people. But like just somebody that doesn't have a predisposed mental condition, do you think it's an issue?
Well, I mean, really any product for somebody who has a predisposition is going to be a risk. If it's alcohol or cocaine or even just regular THC concentrations of normal cannabis flower. So dabs could be concerning, and used regularly could probably lead to problems when you're concentrating the THC. I mean, we all worry about the pharmaceutical industry getting in here and taking out one component that has benefit and concentrating it, and then leading to a lot of negative outcomes and negative side effects because you're not consuming the whole plant. So I do still think in most cases people are going to be healthier and smarter. It's smarter to use a whole flower and get the benefit of the whole plant. But I don't think that, I don't think that works for everybody. For some people, dabs are really necessary. But used recreationally, it's a lot of frontotemporal stimulation, especially in a developing brain.
I love
thank you so much for
frontotemporal stimulation.
You like stimulating your frontotemporal?
Oh, God.
That was amazing.
Thank you, Dr. Mary, for that.
That was great.
We
Yeah,
really
that was
always
great.
love.
Hold on, Nicole.
We love all the good medical.
Nicole, when you
information.
took your dab, okay, I got to tell you, you took your dab and you have your new little tool,
new
and it
tool.
has its light on it, right?
Lightsaber.
Do you know what that totally reminded me of when you were
What?
doing that? The cop putting the light in your eyes and saying, "Follow my pen."
It reminded me of
It's
Will
a dab
Yes,
tool.
left to
It's
right,
the new
left
Carta dab
to right,
tool.
left to right.
Reminded me of
left
the
to
simpler
right.
times of Will Smith when he flashed the light in your face. and you
Oh,
got
look
your-
at that.
Oh yeah, that was good too. In Men in
Oh,
Black,
that's
yes,
so
yes,
dope.
Yeah,
yeah.
the
Whoa.
times of Will Smith.
I can see myself. I'm going to the Hall of Flowers.
Yeah.
Oh God, thank you
Take
guys
me.
so much.
Right down the
Joining
wormhole.
us.
Where's Tommy Lee
Today.
Jones when you need him, Will Smith?
Yeah, we're just gonna wipe your memory of all that. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for tuning in with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience, supporters, and the haters for still talking about us. Thank you to True Classic Weavers and LAXCC for helping us keep the lights on. Thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing, and to Cannabis for giving us a reason to do this. Thank you to 3 is 4 and everyone on the backside helping us keep a space in this cannabis miniverse. Thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
One time I dabbed Delta 8 on the rooftop in Austin with
Did you
Stone
fall
Slade.
off? Did you fall off?
Oh my God, Delta 8.
You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamite, and Nicole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.